As a project manager, how can you navigate change using the DA browser? Our topic today on all things discipline agile. I'm Joshua Barnes, and I'm once again joined by Chastine Lynch. Welcome,
Hello.
Chastine. Yeah, so we've done a few of these types of episodes now. Thank you for everyone who has had lots of questions and asked for a little more content as far as how project managers can not only start moving towards an understanding of agile ways of working, but how can they use some of the other tools and resources and benefits within the sort of PMI ecosystem. And so today, we'll take a little bit of time to talk about some of the things that Chastine covers when she's working with customers or when she's delivering training project managers to prepare for the PMP exam. And so one of the things that has brought us down this path is if you are a project professional and you're at the point both in experience and for all the various benefits you get to have professional certification like your PMP, one of the things that we have been kind of focusing on is that don't just take it from somebody that's going to prepare you to just challenge the exam, right? What you really want is you want somebody that not only will prepare you for that, but also to be there to answer questions on a lot of the content that is now in the PMP. Again, not very well known. 50% of the content on the exam comes from Agile and hybrid. So in PMBOK 7, the project management body of knowledge, that's one of the things that was a really significant change. And Chastine is not only a very competent and skilled project manager that also does instruction, but she's an Agilist. So it's such a benefit these days for you and your organization to understand what Agile ways of working are, also what hybrid really means, because that is far often the case is we're in this situation where there's so many sort of a hybrid process where we're still doing some of the traditional project management, predictive, however you want to say it, things. Plus, you've got some Agile lean practices that are also being used versus, a more fully transition over to an iterative, a time-boxed way of working, a flow-based approach, right, using Kanban, and then some of the other sort of variations. So Chastine, why don't you kind of take us through a little bit of what you're gonna cover and how you're gonna lead me through some of the content in the DA browser.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Josh. I'm super excited to be back here. Really, really passionate about this topic because, like you said, I am a project manager. I have been for a very long time, and I'm an Agilist. And when I go into customers' environments in a consultant role, no one is ever utilizing one particular framework or standard 100%. They're contextualizing to fit their environment to some degree. And so what the DA browser does for both the project manager who wants to navigate a hybrid environment or improve their skill sets with some agile approaches, or the Agilist who wants to gain more knowledge around what they can deliver to their environment, I utilize the DA browser. And so, as you stated, in both of the DA training courses that I do and the PMP training courses, we use the DA browser a lot to roll through some of these scenarios because it brings so much information to the table. And so, yeah, I would love to just, for the group today, throw out a couple of real life scenarios and show you how I would use the DA browser to either get ahead of an unforeseen, issue or resolve some sort of issue or change that I'm experiencing.
All right. So once again, I'll just pull up. Yeah, the DA browser is one of the bodies of knowledge that you can go to completely free. You don't need to be a PMI member. You don't need to even have like a PMI account. All you have to do is go to the link that I've got displayed right now, and you have access to this wonderful knowledge base.
Mm-hmm.
And let's take a look at what, for those of you that maybe haven't seen it before in one of our previous live streams. So yeah, here we go, right? I mean, I'm in the browser. So tell me where you'd like me to go and take us through some of these scenarios.
Yeah, as Agilists, we are part of the development and deployment for sure. As project managers, we're part of all that business acumen that has to occur beforehand, and then everything that has to occur after. So in the beginning, for project managers, we are constantly up against trying to figure out scope for our project. Scope is a really, really big thing. We want to identify as much of it up front as possible. But oftentimes we're doing projects that it's beyond our skill set. And so we have to put together maybe some workshops, facilitate workshops with who's going to be our team lead. So in the explore scope process goal, there's so much gold in here for a project manager. The way I would utilize this is I would come in here ahead of time and I would scan through all the different options that I have and maybe read up ahead of time. And then I would facilitate a workshop with my team. I would have chosen a few different approaches in here. And then I would have, run through it with my team. So in this example, if I go to the explore scope and then I want to explore purpose, I can go into the decision point of explore purpose, and I can find all these different approaches that I can use to dive deeper into facilitating a workshop to discover my scope. This is, such an amazing amount of information. Like I said, you would have to read hundreds of books to get what's just conglomerated here.
Yeah, that's one of the things as as a knowledge base, right? The content that's in this tool continues to be augmented, is that you would have to do a lot of reading of books or going out and doing searches on Google, or again, going way beyond maybe what a particular framework or framework's body of knowledge provides you.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of these, Chastine, have you used like mind map or impact map?
Yes, so mind map is my absolute favorite.
Right.
So here's a real life scenario that got me to mind mapping. Is I was trying to discover scope. I had a stakeholder group that included some very creative types and then some very left brain thinking, check the box engineers. And I was having a hard time pulling out from the engineers ideas or concepts. Whereas the creatives would kind of just throw it out there and I could pick it up, but I was having a hard time. And so I went here and I was like, what would help? What could I try new? Because what I'm doing is my guided continuous improvement, my Kaizen loop, my plan, do, check, act. My act was I needed to change. So I went here and I found mind map.
Yeah. So one of the other things, if you haven't seen the browser, use it before, not only do you have a great list of options for any one of these decision points, like, yeah, how are we going to explore purpose? And to your point, right, it's like, hey, I know we need to make a change. So you see mind map, right? This one, yeah, brainstorm and organize ideas and concepts. So, pretty short, brief description. It had some trade-offs. But there are also links to external resources. Now, external means to the browser. So some of these are going to maybe take you to like the PMI.org site. Maybe it'll go to some of the microsites there, or other content sort of, again, within PMI's various ways you can get information. But some of these other external links or links to external resources, they're going to take you to other industry published content. And so you've got something that essentially has been vetted by the team that has put together and maintained the content in the tool, that provides you that next level of depth as far as whether it's getting more understanding of mind map, or what an epic is, or what a user story is, or whatever any of these are. So it's what you now, not all options, but a lot of them, again, are going to have some additional information that you can get down to.
Yeah, when I found this, I sincerely had never seen a mind map before. And I, like Googled images, like, what is a mind map? And it gave me a visual, gave me an idea, gave me a rabbit hole to jump down. Because just as project managers, I know for myself, 15 years later, I've never done the same project twice. I'm always in this uncomfortable space of doing something for the first time. And this really helps navigate me through that. And one of the things we were talking about before we started today was the planning test strategy that we have. And another real life scenario is one time Chastine took down all the cell service in Barrow, Alaska. I didn't have a very good test strategy put together because honestly, this testing just is really out of the purview of what I'm super skilled at. And I'm always missing something. So coming to a process goal like this, where I can dive deeper into what do I need to be talking about? What do I need to make sure that I have?
Yeah. So one of the things also with what you'll find within the DA browser, the DA knowledge base, is these process goal diagrams again are really just an arrangement for information, right? So they're again the containers or buckets of information. And as I've been navigating on the left hand side, right, I jumped down to develop test strategy when Chastine mentioned we were going to take a look at some testing stuff. So some of these process goal diagrams, like this one, are some have more information, some have less information. Some of them are really big. This one's a really big one, right? And I'm just going to kind of scroll all the way through this. I'm not going to change the view on my browser to try and fit it. But there's a lot here, right? And that's a result of so many of the challenges, no matter what the way of working in the testing space, right? That's how all of these different things, these practices, these options that we have, right, made it in here, and it's continued to grow. But as a project manager, as a project professional, right, one of the things that we have seen since PMI acquired Discipline Agile is that, yeah, great, there's been a lot more from a PMI membership perspective going through some of the DA training courses. They get exposure to this, you get exposure to DA and all the content that's within it, as well as some of the other Agile content, obviously, that PMI has. But what we haven't seen a lot of, or maybe enough of, is if you're a project professional, you can go to this whether your organization is using an Agile approach that is, sort of part of the PMI offering, if they're using any of the other industry frameworks or approaches that are out there, right? You have something that you can bring to your teams, because oftentimes we know that a lot of the team level coaches, right, and I'll just say this, the Scrum Master, right, whatever type of certification you might have, a CSM, a PSM, something from SAFe, something from this, something from that, there's not a lot of this type of content that your team level coaches are going to have gone through, if any, as well as how they continue with their sort of professional development units, right? How they go out and they seek out where they can find more information. So as a project manager, you can be bringing this to the teams that have adopted an Agile way of working or a hybrid way of working, right? Yeah. So what's some of the testing things that you've got some real life scenarios you can take us through?
Well, besides for taking down the cell service in an entire city, is being Agile and making improvements to what I do. Now what I do is when I form my team, when I identify my stakeholders, identify who's going to be my technical resource on the testing side. And I come here with them and I would say, hey, let's put together a workshop. Let's put together a strategy meeting. We'll get the team together who's going to be part of that conversation, but let's go through here. Let's identify together what we need to make sure that we plan with the team, that we discuss with the team, what's pertinent for us, what's not. And then we can add that into our agenda and go through it when we go through our discovery sessions with our team in regards to what is required for testing. Because to your point, this isn't all going to be required, depending on the industry that you're in or the levels of technicality for your project. But a lot of these are required. And for example, we should almost always have some sort of user acceptance testing. So we would maybe come here and we would say, choose testing types. And we would see user acceptance testing in there. And it's even bolded as, hey, this is a great place to start, especially if you have a new team that you're putting together, or you're new to Agile, some sort of form of user acceptance testing. And then you could come in here and say, okay, let's put user acceptance testing on the agenda. let's discuss how heavy is this going to be, how light is it going to be, who's going to be part of it, who's do I need to make sure I put it into my resource planning, who's leadership do I need to make sure they block out the calendar for me. And this really helps me develop a good agenda to then bring back to the technical folks that I need to help coordinate developing those plans with.
Yeah, excellent. And one of the things again with this is that you're able to not only see some of the practices that maybe you have experience with, or types of testing, right? Testing strategies, testing types of testing. So that's great. You'll see some additional things maybe that you haven't had any experience or exposure with, because again, a lot of what's in there in this process goal diagram, right? Develop test strategy, is going to be tied into, again, not only just a more predictive or hybrid type of approach. It's also going to support, again, whether you're doing an agile and iterative approach, or maybe again a Kanban, a flow-based approach. So there's additional things you can discover rather quickly by getting together, brainstorming a bit on what dimensions of testing, as well as when do we need to do those, right? If we're shifting a lot of the activities we do in a predictive or hybrid way of working to the left, because we're going to be doing those much earlier in our sort of time frame, well, not only do we need to know what dimensions and types of testing we need to do, but we need to have like test environments set up a lot earlier. We need to have the team members that are going to be doing that testing. We need to know what stakeholders are going to be also participating, right? All those things that we might only have a little bit of an understanding with, we can come here and start getting a lot more clarity around that. And again, taking a look at the options that we have.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a technical project. For example, user acceptance testing, it could be something as simple as you want to, change the vendor of coffee syrups that you use. And you're going to have them, taste different, coffee flavors and see what you like. Get the feedback from the users. Maybe it's a new, coffee cup. How do they hold it? Is it ergonomically pleasant? There are certain things that you can utilize in here, and it does not have to be from a technical standpoint.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. So if you're a project manager and you are not working on a digital product, right, or you're in an area of your organization, or again, that is doing that, it's more of, again, physical product development or evolving a product, or again, a coffee syrup flavoring that you're trying to evaluate. There are a lot of things within this knowledge base that are equally or universally applicable, no matter what type of work or product or service that you're doing. But there are things in here also that are for non-software development, non-digital product type of work. Whether you're doing, construction, you're maybe in a department in an organization, so you're far outside of IT, you're in a marketing department, marketing area, or a procurement area, you can use an agile way of working. And if you're a project manager supporting those other enterprise or supporting areas, then yes, equally, you're going to get value from taking a look at all what's in here.
Yes. It's great too, because especially when you're a project manager on a new type of project, you can come down the process goals, and it gives you a good idea, like, should I be talking about this? Should I not be talking about this? Is this applicable? Oh, here's something I maybe didn't think about bringing into my project plan. Thank goodness I have this. Or if you're like me and you love data and you love numbers, you go to the ongoing phase where you go into data governance, and you look at all the different types of tracking and reporting and metric outcomes or measure outcomes that you can work into your project plan. So just so much gold in here.
Yeah. So one of the other things I think also we've talked about before, maybe not in one of these live streams, is that, if you're a project professional and you're observing, you're being told things that, from an agile way of working just kind of don't make a lot of sense to you, then this is another knowledge base you have that you can go and kind of validate. Oh, I understand what that means. Or that person on the team that had Agile experience was using this term, and I thought it was something else, but I guess if we're talking about an Agile way of working, it does mean something different than I was thinking. But it can also be, well, that doesn't make sense. Let me go and take a look at an expertly curated knowledge base to know, yeah, it doesn't make sense because it doesn't make sense. And you have some additional things you're able to show or have conversations around to sort of piece together why maybe the team or a team member is thinking in a particular way that doesn't really match what you're finding in a knowledge base like this. So again, it gives you something to use as a discussion point that has so much of this great industry recognized knowledge and expert content that's within it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so much of this, especially in the governed teams, is so applicable to really every project manager in any industry. There's so much in here about servant leadership and empowering our teams and tracking metrics that we all should be doing as project team leads in any project, really.
Yeah. So as a project professional, one of the other things that this knowledge base is going to give you that so many of the other, again, approaches out in the marketplace or bodies of knowledge, whether they're rather small or rather large, this is going to give you not only underneath this area, discipline, agile delivery. This is the inception, construction, transition, and ongoing. This is really focused more from a team perspective. Now, there are some things that are in here that are going to, be done or benefit from like shared services or other areas of the organization, but still a lot of the way of working content from a team perspective. We have things from a DevOps perspective, we have enterprise, and we have value stream, right? So we really do have broad coverage from a knowledge-based perspective for you to be able to go in and take a look at what really will enable your organization to achieve business agility, right? Quick feedback cycles, right? Continuous learning, being able to change, being able to pivot from what you're doing to something else with less resistance, less cost, greater efficiency. I mean, that's all about what business agility is. And as a project professional, you have a lot of things you can continue to look at in here beyond just team level agile or team level sort of lean kind of content.
Absolutely. And I tell anyone who will listen, in any scenario, if you haven't heard about value streaming, start reading up on it. If you have, read more. The trend, run rates are really tracking in that direction. I think value streaming and understanding the value stream and obviously the flow of work is one of the most powerful things you can do really for your career. It's going to make you so much more efficient. And this is a great place to start talking about value streaming.
Yeah. So project professionals, consider using the DA browser tool, right? The DA knowledge base. Consider, right, if you are an existing professional and maybe you've had your PMP designation or Prince 2 or again any of these other similarly recognized professional certifications, consider some of the courses that are going to give you some foundational content from an agile way of working that again aren't so tied into one particular framework or a framework that you still need to expand upon, and Chastine delivers all of those courses. If you're a project professional and you're ready to challenge the PMP exam and you want to take it from, again, not only a very skilled instructor in that space, but somebody who's an Agilist, and that's going to bring Agile content from a practical perspective into the classroom, again, I'll say, please take a look at the offerings that Chastine has. As well as the value stream management content. I wholeheartedly agree that, this is an emerging and definitely trending area that, organizations, especially for their digital products, are really understanding the benefits of, how to improve the flow of value that, the delivery teams and the supporting and operational areas can and are capable of doing. So yes, continue to take a look at all of the wonderful content we and others have in the value stream management and value delivery management area. Chastine, any parting thoughts today?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, well, I do have a PMP course coming up for anyone interested. It's 4 consecutive Saturdays. So it's for the working professional. If you're like me and you can't break away during the weekdays for training, that's coming up here, starts February 25th. And yeah, it's really important to me. It's such a passion that I show applicable ways to actually utilize Agile and project management. You know, I hear all the time about how Agile can be used for any industry outside of software development, but I just don't think there's enough examples out there, real life examples. Here's how you actually do it, a step by step. And so with the PMBOK 7, it's 50% Agile. And so we cover how you become that not only prep for your PMP project manager, but that well-rounded hybrid manager who can bring Agile into your workspace when applicable, and how to, like, step by step, this is how you do it.
Yeah, fantastic. Any follow-on questions, please post in LinkedIn, and we'll do our best to be very timely in providing a response. And we will see you on our next All Things Discipline Agile. Thanks again, Chastine.
Thanks, Josh.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.